because I just want to make sure that it's good.
I'm nervous, guys.
I'm nervous too.
We've had this conversation many times.
We have.
Been a
It's
very
been on the
different
works
setting.
for a while.
You and I remember you and Josh were saying that LeBron was better than MJ fucking before he'd won anything.
Wait.
Oh, he
Josh,
was.
Josh who? Me? Not me.
No, my mate.
I was going to say,
Well, you can ask
Buddy of
that
mine.
how we know each other.
Yeah.
You are going to ask that
I
question.
will know. Yeah, exactly. I mean, for the viewers right now, if anyone is watching, how do
we
you
know
guys?
each other?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Well, I think, when was it? Would have been, I'd just finished year
Who
12.
just won the flag? That's how I normally remember things.
Is that wait?
I reckon it was St Kilda and Collingwood.
So
Yep.
2010.
It would have been just after that,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So I was
Shit.
dating my ex, and he's like family friends with them.
That's
and
right.
we were there all the time, and we'd have Jaeger bombs and watch like every Friday. So I'd be trying to finish work, and I'd have a message from Harley, "We've got Jaeger ready. Hurry the fuck up."
Yeah, fact.
So we
That's
just watched football, and Harley and Josh were into basketball, which I had only watched highlights for. So
Yeah.
You're a Kobe man from memory.
it was the only one I knew. And then they taught me about LeBron. I played the game a bit, 2K, and it was just good. And then
Were you a
got to
2K
learn-
man?
I'm still a 2K man to this day, actually.
Do you have the new one?
I have the new one. I've got a 89 overall point guard, and I just bomb threes. So who do I play for? I play for the Pelicans.
Oh, is this my player?
My
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
The
play
new-
for the Pelicans. So.
New one's pretty good.
It's all right. The when I hit 15 threes in a game, and they literally stopped the game and celebrated it like they would in real life now. So
Yep.
Oh, yeah, something happens, got to stop everything.
yeah. So and then he even mentions it. My player goes, "I can't believe we stopped the game." So, well, you can because you just hit
'Cause he
15
just-
threes.
Oh, that's priceless. What I'm going to do, I'm actually going to bring up the NBA games today just so we can run through them because I want to.
I actually haven't even looked through it myself. So
OKC.
I mean, apart from Oklahoma City,
It's a good win.
It's a
fucking
very
great
good win.
it was so because I had a bit of an event today. I didn't really get to see a lot of it or much of it, so I was only following scores. And every single time I looked, we were cooked as far as like looking at the actual score was concerned. It was 10 to 15 points pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
So I pretty much wrote it off.
And that's a good against, the best side in the West in terms of the all-around picture. Like,
Yeah.
by the time you see team you want to beat, and I reckon we'll be there.
You know who's on a historic losing streak about to be? Pistons are on 23 games
Yes.
lost. I
Yeah,
think the
Damn.
record's 26 or 28.
they're the worst team I've ever seen in all the time I've ever watched basketball.
That
for sure.
means there's got to be another defense. Because the 80s, they were awesome. Then they were horrible in the 90s. And then they came good in 2000s. It was like the Bad Boys 2. And then
Yep.
they made like 7-8 conference finals. Like, they were always there.
for sure.
then they
Culturally,
just
they're
disappeared.
great.
They just disappeared. But are they anymore?
Not anymore, but usually like
You'd think they would have come around just waiting for that Bad Boys 3, but it's not the...
in the NBA, it seems to be like culturally, teams just usually work it out.
Yeah.
Like even in Boston, the Lakers, I mean, New York are not a great example as a big league,
No.
but like, yeah, just Boston Lakers and teams like that. San Antonio, I mean, they're down at the moment, but let's be honest, San Antonio won't be down forever.
Wemby just needs someone who can handle the ball.
That's it.
He just
yeah.
needs someone to get it to.
Yeah, can't have Jeremy Sohan run the plays every game as much as Pop wants it. It's just not going to work.
Has he lost it, though?
Pop?
He's interesting. Well, all right, coming back to stopping the game, he stopped the game.
That was funny.
Because Kawhi was getting booed.
That was funny. I didn't even see that.
Like,
Someone else told me about that.
fucking,
I
like-
didn't believe him.
Is that not as woke as you can fucking get?
I guess so.
That's horrible.
It isn't great. Like,
on,
it's like
Pop.
just let
Come on,
the
come on,
crowd.
Pop.
If
do
they're
what they
winning
wanna do.
games, does he do that though?
That's fair.
I don't think he does.
No, because the crowd's probably pumped up for them, and why
And
would you
remember
stop the
what
crowd for
Kawhi
that?
did? Like, he was the next after Tim Duncan, and then he did a James Harden and just got himself out of there.
Yeah. One eight chip though.
He did, and then he won.
Unexpected too.
And then he won Toronto on where he was never going to stay.
No.
That was just this is where I need to be.
It was a layover.
Yeah.
It was a championship
It's
layover.
a good,
in the
it's a
end.
good championship layover.
Yeah, it's unreal.
And they beat a good side.
I mean, they had some fortune. Definitely had some fortune to win that.
Well, but
I mean, KD goes down with the Achilles.
of course. The shot against Philly.
Exactly. I wasn't even like going there. I was thinking more Clay going down with the ACL.
But they even when Clay was in, they were beating him those games as well. Having him fully fit, of course.
There's an iconic photo actually of Steph Curry when Clay goes down, of him just sitting on the court in the distance, just looking at him. And yeah, it's just the vibe of it is just, you just knew they weren't going to win that series as soon as that happened.
Yeah.
But that comes into it because on the flip side, the Warriors had heaps of good luck in their wins too.
Yeah, for sure.
2015, Kyrie goes down. 2018, they really it was LeBron and Dellavedova. Like, so they got pretty, lucky.
Yep. Yeah. Kyrie
so I think in every final, like there's always something.
There was also Kawhi Leonard was in that first game of the Western Conference Final. He was on a tear. He was killing him, and then it was Zaza Pachulia, I think his name is, stepped on he put his foot out, and then Kawhi stepped on it, done his ankle. He was out for the rest of the series. Yeah, and then they go on to lose, I think, every game after that.
Yeah. Oh, well, you can go back to all the championships. Someone's gone out. Like there's always, and that's part of it. It's we're starting.
Hey,
we are starting.
Josh has had enough of the chit chat. He's ready to go.
I thought we'd already started.
We have.
Okay.
He's starting the intro.
The Christmas tunes.
You should have had your Christmas jacket again.
I know, I feel ripped off.
Yeah.
I know, I should have, but I didn't. Anyway, we're going to introduce this one. I'm just going to figure out which camera I am meant to look at. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Sports for Dummies, the greatest sports podcast on the planet. I'm Josh, joined by John, and special guest number 1, Harley from Harley Sports Talks. How are you doing?
Good, guys, good. Good to finally be here.
I know, it's great.
Good to have you, mate.
It's been in the works for a while. But yeah, good. Been in the works for a while, so it's good to be here.
It's good to have you here, mate. It's
we got a ripper topic. I'm so excited.
I reckon
I'm scared.
Johnny's been walking around for, I reckon, the last week.
It's like a prize fighter.
Literally trying.
Just thinking about what I'm going to say and go, but
well, we are here for one reason, and it's LeBron and Michael Jordan. So obviously we've got LeBron who's still playing, kicking absolute goals, and then you have one of the GOATs. As they're both going to debate here, Michael Jordan, who is now retired. He owned the Hornets, did no good with that.
Jeez, what a start for me, just off the back foot.
Just give him a reminder about the franchise.
The one thing he's done terribly in his life.
No, well, he did baseball.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a failure.
I didn't give him much of a chance though.
Credit to him. He did baseball, and he actually didn't do that bad.
He was scoring at .2 and
never made the majors.
He could have. Do you know he could have made the majors?
Okay.
So in that year they went on strike. Now players in fucking
I'm not familiar with that.
So they went on strike and they were getting all like third players. So they offered him to come play some major league games.
Okay.
But he said I can't. Like under good conscience.
Because I'm going to basketball.
But I struck out.
I'm back.
I struck out in the twos. Why would I go to the first?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, no, it makes sense.
But no, they did offer him, and he's like, I can't when everyone's on strike. Like, I don't want to make it that way.
Yeah, which is fair enough. Guys, we're going to jump straight into one thing, which was Harley is Harley Sports Talks. So do you want to run us a bit through what that is? I know you were speaking a bit about the Thunder. You're doing a bit about UFC, a bit about everything. So talk us through.
There's not really much of a direction at the moment. I'm still trying to lay down the foundation of what I'm going to be doing. Done a couple of UFC videos recently that seem to rate pretty well, and they were just
getting views.
They were getting views, yeah.
That's all
They were more fluff videos. I just said these are a matchup you shouldn't sleep on, and that's where I've gone with the NBA a little bit as well.
Yeah,
just. Probably won't go with the... I've been giving matchups for the next day, but I'm going to probably expand out to maybe I'll do it on one day during the week and then say there's going to be maybe 5 to even 10, if there is enough, 10 games that you guys should look out for and maybe give a reason why.
Oh, that's good.
Why you should look out for it. And but yeah, at the moment, just laying down the foundation of what I want to do and how I'm going to do it, trying to work it in with my life.
I think that's exactly what we're doing. And what brought you to sport? I mean, for me, like I've always loved sport since I was probably 6, 7, always had a footy in the hand. That was one thing. Dad pushed that pretty hard onto me. I'm not sure if You're at all the same.
Yeah, pretty similar. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was more my grandparents actually
Yep.
that sort of pushed me onto it. So Granddad was a big Richmond supporter. And that's the route that I ended up going
So
down.
you're Richmond. Oh yeah,
I
we
am
did have this
Richmond, yep.
conversation. Richmond, Carlton, Essendon.
Yes,
Same
correct.
AFL
Harley's not
supporters.
a bandwagoner because when I met him, he's gone through all the tough times. So
Been tough.
He's not one of those Tiger supporters who jumped on. He actually went through the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So I was actually.
I mean, it turned around for a while there, so it was good. But yeah, there was some tough times for a while there. But yeah, that was through my granddad's influence that I barracked for them. And then he was pretty much the same with cricket as well. Loved cricket because of that. And then basketball came a bit later. So basketball, like even through primary school, it wasn't really big in my world.
Yep.
It didn't really take until high school. You're surprised by the looks of it there. Yeah, it wasn't really till high school that sort of basketball started. I remember year 7, I had some mates that liked playing it.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to really sort of play it and then sort of take notice. And then, yeah, that sort of kicked off from there and it hasn't really looked back since as far as basketball is concerned.
Oh, that's
And
good.
then, yeah, UFC's probably been in the last maybe 6 or 7 years. I've really ramped it up as far as interest. There's always been like...
Who's your favourite fighter at the moment? I know you mentioned Paddy the Baddie.
So
on
he
one of your
fought
videos.
today.
Did he win?
He did win. He won via decision. I haven't seen any
He's
of it
great.
yet.
He gets really fat when he doesn't fight, and then he gets lean.
He's got a great presser where like somebody asked him, does he miss the 6-pack? And he's just like, no.
Yeah.
I'd rather be fat and happy than a 6-pack and miserable. He goes, all these guys with 6-packs year round are miserable. And I mean, that's just a philosophy for life, isn't it? Like, let's be honest.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, so favourite fighter.
That's a big question on the
Yeah,
spot.
it's huge. I was big on Izzy, so Adesanya. I mean, he had that loss recently, but apart from that, he's been elite.
Yeah.
So
One of the greats.
he's been huge. I was a Conor fan
Yeah.
until probably recently. I mean, that's just through inactivity, really. And then just like some, I say off field, but
Well, he's been
out of
doing-
cage.
Yeah, well, he's been doing the what was that UFC show that they were
See, I didn't even
promoting?
watch it.
It was horrible.
Ultimate Fighter.
And then
Yeah, I watched the first episode and then
I think Connor's big thing was when he was at his prime. He was obviously a master striker, but his trash talk wasn't just for the sake of it. Like he used to mentally get into people's head. Like Jose Aldo, who was the best in that division
that's
by
so good.
far, who was only 28 at the time. McGregor literally had him thinking he was a 50-year-old man. But then it sort of coincided with the money that he made from obviously the Mayweather fight, which I think he did a pretty good job on. It sort of went to his head and the trash talking became just actual insults and could be broken in real time.
Yeah.
Like it was, and that was great. Me personally, I loved seeing him just get destroyed and he just hasn't been the same since. His trash talks kept going, but he hasn't got better.
Well, against Poirier, he just couldn't get the W's. And
No.
I mean, when he broke his leg, I think that really screwed him. And then I think he took a lot of stuff to get himself back. And he looks like
Took a lot of stuff.
and then he just looks like
How good is it?
beefcake.
How good is it though that Dana's just like, oh, we want to test Connor. Nah. They're gone.
Didn't they
Nah,
get rid of
he
what
can't.
was it?
USADA.
USADA. Yeah, they got rid of him.
Dana's not letting. He'll let Connor do whatever
he's
he
looking
wants.
big, isn't he?
Yes.
He's looking huge.
He's even his chin. I mean, because you couldn't see beforehand with his
Does
beard,
that stuff
but
like make your chin bigger, like normally?
I don't know,
Oh, it's
but he
more
looks
puffy.
chiseled.
I mean, he's probably got surgery or something. He's got that much money.
That's
like,
true. He probably just went and got his face.
Had a weak
reconstructed.
chin, so he went and got it out.
Some metal
got it
plates
bigger.
in there.
Imagine that.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, now we're going to jump in. I'm going to jump into today's NBA games. So obviously we're going to run straight into the best one, which was Harley's OKC
Let's
Great
go.
win. That's a great win.
against
huge.
the Nuggets. And yeah, well, look, it was 117 to 118. So it's a pretty solid win. You must be pretty pumped.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Chet with the 9 blocks is absolutely massive considering the competition that he was playing against. So obviously with Jokic and Aaron Gordon and some really nice shooters. So that's huge to have 9 blocks. And then
SGA is in. They reckon that he's going to be in the All-Star and he'll be starting.
Oh,
He'll be coming into
he'll
the
definitely be
point
an
guard.
all-star.
yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
he'll definitely be, whether or not he's on the bench or not by that time. But I'm sure he'll be starting.
I mean, yeah. So you got the West. So probably Luka starts.
Steph will be in there.
Steph will be there.
It's
LeBron
either, it's
will-
either
LeBron
Steph
will-
and SGA for the point guard position.
It's depending how that, because it's not necessarily who the best players are. a lot of it is popularity. So
Yeah, well, there's a fan vote.
a fan vote. Like LeBron has to go in. Steph will get a fan vote. Does KD get? KD normally would get a fan
He'll be
vote.
there.
Luka. So what? He deserves to be there based on just pure.
Were you saying, is there voting out already somewhere?
No,
Or
but
is there
there's like
projections?
an early prediction,
Yeah.
sort of thing that
Didn't
people
think there was
got.
voting, but yeah,
Yeah.
projection wise,
But he's definitely first team All NBA.
right now, yeah. Leading steals. What 30 plus points?
Yeah.
It has to be
I
surely.
think he's the only
100%.
player. I think
Yeah.
he evened a record with MJ, something for most points and steals.
in the first 20 games of the
Yeah.
season. Yep, which I
If we're
did post
talking-
about in a very fluff video.
And if you can match anything,
Don't forget
with
to subscribe.
If you can match anything with MJ,
Yeah,
you're
it's
just the
huge, isn't
goat.
it? Yep. Yeah, it's hard to
Alright,
match with LeBron though because his stats are ridiculous.
Do we want to jump in? How do we want to do
go.
this, guys? Do we want to? So I did have a question. I guess
Shoot.
the first one we could go through, and I don't know if this really. Actually, you know what? I'm going to let you guys
What's
have
the
your
question?
opening. No. Because it's going to be about career achievements and impact, and this is just a ChatGPT asked question, and I don't think it's a fair
Sure.
accolade to debate straight off the cuff on. What I'm going to do is to mitigate to anyone, if I'm going to mute the other person so the other person can't jump straight in
For the
first like your opening point.
Opening
So
statement. Okay.
who wants? I reckon, to be fair, you've got the home court advantage.
I means I get to pick who goes first.
Or do you want to go
I'll go
first?
first. I think Michael Jordan. So all right. So let's make this clear. LeBron James is an absolute star, and for the sake of this argument, he's the second best player of all time. He's definitely probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, overall player of all time. But he's lost so many times, and that's not just his fault, but a couple of them were his fault. MJ is perfect in the finals. Statistically, whether it's a normal stats and advanced stats, they're actually pretty similar in terms of there's cases for MJ that he's better, points, steals, etc. Advanced stats, box minus and whatnot, the plus minus, they're actually very similar. I think what it comes down to, you got to look at what they did in their eras, and MJ didn't lose. Once he got over that hurdle, he didn't lose. And I just think to be called the greatest ever.
As in, when you say lose, sorry, I'm not going to cut you
Yeah.
off, but I can ask the questions. Lose championships or...
He didn't lose champ. So after he got over that piston hurdle...
Because I'm thinking about the regular Joe who wouldn't know much about these guys statistically.
So
MJ.
So Michael Jordan in the 80s... So even in the 80s when they weren't winning, he was being called the best player by Magic, Bird. Everyone was calling him the best that they've ever seen. He wasn't winning, though. He wasn't winning. He was actually two ball dominant. He was the system, which he was found out when he came against battles against Detroit. Once he figured that out, and that's also with good coaching, he helped massively. I know everyone wants to say, oh, well, he hasn't won without Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen averaged 7 points in his first year. MJ, and it's very well documented that he helped him produce his game. He got him in the gym.
Yeah.
Once he won, he didn't lose. The one that he didn't win was when he'd come back from 18 months off in baseball.
Okay.
His mentality, he just won
I guess
all
that's
the
fair enough.
time. And in terms of accolades, he's above LeBron and he hasn't played for as long. His peak is higher. If you want to use longevity, of course, probably LeBron's got it. But MJ played 82 every game 10 times. So his longevity wasn't bad. He got everything out of himself.
How many seasons did he play?
14.
Gee, that's pretty small nowadays, isn't it? What's LeBron? LeBron's on
14, and for the Bulls, it was 12. He had 2 years with the Wizards where, don't worry about that.
Yeah, we'll just ignore that.
We'll just ignore that.
ignore those.
I just think he's killer will, MVPs, finals MVPs, perfect record in the finals when it mattered. And in all sports of basketball, whether it was college, Olympics, he has not lost a championship. He's never lost. I don't know how we can give someone who has lost multiple times. He's got the biggest finals record loss on his record, and he's been swept twice. Though they weren't all his fault, how you can put him over someone who hasn't lost.
Okay.
That's my opening.
All right. Harley, you're opening, and then I'll ask some
Compelling.
questions so that we can just like have comparisons on that one.
Okay. Jeez, it's going to be hard to follow. All right, let me think. I'm going off the cuff here. I mean, you obviously went off the cuff as well. So to start off with, LeBron James, pretty much from the day he picked up a basketball, he was considered the greatest player or one of the greatest players, and he was the chosen one according to ESPN. It's a lot of pressure coming into the NBA to have pretty much the chosen one tag put onto you. I mean, it hasn't been really since Wemby now that we've really seen how big that could be. And guys who are watching Wemby now get the pressure that he's getting now. I think it was probably times 10, really, when it came to LeBron. That's how good people thought he was going to be, just coming out of high school. So he never actually made it to college. Obviously, back in that day, that was probably more of a thing. It was a high school, you know, your Kobe's, your... I'm not going to go through the rest, but a few guys went out straight from high school. And then straight from high school, he came in as a starting role player as a small forward. And already, I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but there's some Cleveland players that said, I don't know why we drafted him. We've got players at his position already. And then first training camp, they went, okay, this is why we've drafted him.
Carlos Boozer was on that side.
Yeah, I think it was Carlos.
If I can remember.
I think Carlos was one of them. And then I can't remember who the other one was, but it was a very, very wrong statement at the time. So, yeah, he comes in his first year, plays really well. I can't remember how they actually finished that season, but he ended up making a championship game pretty early in his career and obviously was swept by the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I don't know if you guys know who the San Antonio Spurs were, but they were one of the best teams ever assembled, I guess you could say. The way that they drafted, they could draft players in the second round to turn them into superstars. That's how good this team was. And they were deep. And LeBron was a young guy who managed to still make a championship game and did get swept. But it's sort of, I don't know if you've guys seen that roster, but it's a horrible roster. And somehow he still takes them there. There was a game in particular against the Detroit Pistons where he dropped he dropped the last 25 points in the game. I think you remember that?
Oh, it's one of the greatest games of all time.
Yep, and that's young LeBron. So he didn't have much help back then, and he still managed to pull away and do that, which was great. And then, so what I always think of when I think of MJ, right? So people often talk about, you know, he stayed at Chicago, won these championships, had great teams. So it's sort of is a way to diminish LeBron for moving clubs. Mm-hmm. So he obviously moved to the Miami Heat because back at that time, they were playing against guys like the Celtics. And the Celtics
the big three.
Had the big three at the time. So that was the first big three I'd ever seen in my lifetime. It's not the first, but it's the first that I'd seen. And he wasn't getting out of the Eastern Conference Final. And the difference between he didn't have that team that he thought he could continue with, so he went and joined another team and then went and won championships. Yep. So I just think that, you know, just because he moved teams, I know it was with a guy like Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, but this has happened.
Ray Allen.
Yeah, Ray Allen came a bit later. He wasn't there straight away. They went to 4 of 4, which is great. And let's be honest, everyone sort of expected that when they formed that team. But then he moves back to Cleveland and still keeps going to finals, which I think is a bit undersold rather. The fact that he went to so many championships in a row, or championship games in a row, with multiple teams. I think it gets undersold personally. I know that he did play for Cleveland and obviously went back, but you know, things would have changed in those 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then for him to come back, brand new team, brand new system, and I know he's a very system-driven player, as in he is the system, as you guys say. But I just think it gets undersold, the fact that he did make those championship games so many times in a row. And then moving to LA, everyone, when he moved to LA, said he's just going there to retire.
To make movies.
Make movies, yep, which he did.
Absolutely. I actually did Mine Train, mate.
And still won a championship.
Did.
So, I mean, it's not a compelling argument, but that's just where I'm at the moment with the start of it.
No, that's good. So basically
Can I rebuttal to that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, actually, you do. Yeah.
So to those ones, because you're completely right, and LeBron. So this is a good and a bad thing about LeBron. The biggest knock on him is he hasn't made a dynasty anyway. really, out of like all the greats have.
Hang on. No dynasty. Is this
As-
including Miami?
That's 2 chips. So
Yep.
if you want to call that one, sure.
Yep.
But he hasn't. But this is where the good part is. LeBron became a dynasty to himself.
Yeah.
So he made 8 straight finals, 9 straight finals,
I think
eight straight finals. That's a dynasty in yourself.
Yeah.
That's a dynasty into yourself. He had the whole Eastern Conference on lock. That's what MJ did the whole fucking 90s and won. Now, coming back to your original points, because there was some truth to that. He came up as 22 years old, he came up against the San Antonio Spurs, who are just an organization which is teams win championships, not individuals. He was not beating that side. His stats, though, did drop. His efficiency dropped from 50% to 30%. So this is where MJ's also, he's not perfect either. He was getting beaten in the first round. His stats didn't drop, though. LeBron's did. Now, to use the argument that he was getting beat, couldn't get out of the East against the Boston Big Three, absolutely. I don't actually have a problem with him going to Miami. He did drop the game, though, to Dwight Howard.
That is a bit of a...
He did drop to Dwight Howard, which Dwight Howard was also a solo player.
Yep.
Then he went to Miami, and they made the finals 4 times. They were the favourites every time.
Yep.
What really hurts him here is
I already know where this is going.
the Dallas series.
Yep. Yeah, it's a horrible one.
It's
It's hard to argue it.
He had 8 points in the last quarter in the last 4 games. He was laughing at Dirk, giving Dirk shit.
For being sick.
For being sick, and they were 2-1 down, and LeBron went missing. It is the worst meltdown in the history of sports for a superstar
It's
player.
the original feelings got hurt.
Oh, my goodness. That hurts him. Now, it's funny. From there, though, we saw arguably the 8 years of the best basketball from an individual player ever. And this is where it's an interesting one because it goes both ways. Because without that story, LeBron, we don't get the LeBron that we got.
Yeah.
It's like MJ when people are like, oh, if the Pistons weren't there, he would have won earlier. Well, I don't think MJ bulks up. I don't think MJ stops playing. I don't think he becomes part of the system with the triangle if he doesn't lose to the Pistons.
Yep.
And that's the point of sport, isn't it? That
Someone to drive you.
you're going, but what's your adversity? Unfortunately, though, it still happened. And MJ doesn't have those. Even when he was losing, he was still gunning. LeBron had too many moments early, though it made him the player that he was. He still had moments where he melted down under the pressure. And he then, obviously, he won the next 2 with Miami. That was awesome. That was a very good team.
Sad day for me. I was against Oklahoma.
I was like, oh, who did you go for?
I was
In that-
Oklahoma then.
You were Oklahoma.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I was probably maybe the year before
Okay.
that I'd swapped from a LeBron just fanboy to a team, which is a story in itself.
And he was awesome. So to guess to Harley's points was there's just too many things on his record where he mentally failed when he should, like, so for example, so LeBron making against the Spurs with no one there. MJ couldn't do that. Kobe had that list when Shaq left, when Kobe was averaging 35. They were getting bounced in the first round. Michael Jordan, before Scottie Pippen or had any help, was getting bounced in the first round. LeBron James, in terms of taking no one to the championships, is the best. However, he's lost when if MJ was on those Miami teams, they're not losing to Dallas. They're not losing to Dallas.
Probably not.
They beat Dallas in 6.
See, I don't. When I make these sort of arguments, I try my best not to go on ifs and buts.
That's fair.
So,
That's fair.
but I'm gonna give you one now.
Okay. That's fair.
So, you talked about the 80s. You called it a hurdle. So,
Of course.
he was coming up against the likes of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson at the time.
Sure.
Which it'd be interesting to see if their careers had have crossed at a more dominant position where, he only saw him for, I know he did beat him being Magic Johnson in a final.
But they weren't Showtime
it was-
anymore.
it was tail end.
Kareem had gone. Magic was still. Magic, I'm pretty sure, won the MVP. Was still off Magic was still at the peak of his powers, but it wasn't Showtime.
Absolutely not.
He didn't have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
And he never beat. Was it?
He never beat Bird.
He never beat Bird.
I don't think he even took a game off Bird. He never took a game off
Which
Bird.
can sometimes get lost in a bit of the greatness. Which It happens.
Yeah. Well, my response to that is LeBron has missed out on the playoffs 3 times.
3 times in his career.
Yeah, 2 at the start.
Yep.
And
Recently.
one his first year in LA when he did his ankle.
Yeah, he was out for a period. It was probably his biggest ever injury as far
Yeah.
as time out was concerned.
And that's why there was the talk when he did move over to LA, that he was going for movies.
Retirement.
He was injured pretty easily.
Yep.
But no, he came back and he's and from a statistical standpoint, he's lapping the field.
Yep.
Um,
Probably worth mentioning too that whenever he did make championship games, he wasn't just leading points for his team. There was a particular final series where he led both teams in points, rebounds, assists, blocks,
Sure.
steals.
sure.
I think that was against the Golden State Warriors.
That was 2016.
Yep.
When Clay
Yep.
when Clay said his
It's one
feelings
of
were
my
hurt.
That's one of my. I reckon I watched that. So there's a highlight video on YouTube in particular where they use that line, and then they just show like the games that they obviously came back and won, which is another reason why I think he's like greatness was sort of skyrocketed was the fact that the Golden State Warriors that's the greatest team as far as win-loss record,
for a regular season. Yep.
and then had LeBron on the ropes, like pretty much
3-1 down.
all they had to do was swing, and LeBron was going down, and somehow LeBron
We had 2
and the Cleveland Cavaliers come back and win that series.
That was
It's-
huge.
And
It's
LeBron,
massive.
and to
Remember
LeBron, he had 2 41-point games in Game 5 and 6.
Yep.
With a triple-double in the third, and that none of that is disputed.
Triple-double
It's
in
just
Game 7, yeah.
There's too many marks though that MJ just doesn't have. What LeBron learnt the killer mentality at a point, and after the Dallas game, you've heard him. He's been on record saying, "I sat in my room for a couple of weeks, didn't speak to anyone, and came back." MJ entered the league like that. He entered the league averaging 28, 6, and 6. And what I also will give MJ over is the idea that he was just selfish, because so look at his stats before Phil gets there. He's averaging 37, 6, and 6 one year, 32, 8, and 8. He averaged a triple-double for a month. So he was actually becoming the point guard, and he was the system. And they would get beaten.
Who was scoring to get him to get 10 assists?
Huh?
Who was getting the points?
Oh,
Pippen?
Oakley.
Charles Oakley. The
Bill,
Aussie goat, Luke Longley.
Bill, I don't even think he was there.
Oh,
Bill,
no.
Bill Bathwaite. What was it? Bill.
Oh, I know who you're saying.
This is a good trivia question.
Paxton.
Name 3 Chicago Bulls players outside of MJ and Scottie Pippen without looking it up, guys.
Rose.
Rodman.
Right. No, I mean when they played with MJ.
Rodman.
Oh, no.
Rodman. Longley.
I'm expecting
and-
you to get
and-
something.
And BJ Armstrong.
BJ Armstrong's a rogue one. I like that.
What's more awkward is I
Ron
played
Harper.
in a basketball team and we wore the old school
Oh, yeah,
jerseys,
with the
so I
players
should
as
have
well?
known. Yeah, with all the players. So I
Yep.
should
Who are
have
you?
Who was I? Oh, shit. So I don't even remember.
The
I was one of the
Golly.
I don't think I was
He
Rodman.
dunks a 10-foot rim, guys, so he should be getting a big player.
Um,
I wasn't at the time. I was probably one of the
Okay.
smallest players in the team, which is funny.
I've only ever played 3 seasons of basketball myself, and in one of those seasons, I led the league in fouls. So that's that's my claim to fame.
The Draymond, modern day Draymond.
Exactly.
Green.
We used to argue too, used to get texts as well. So
So
Yeah.
coming back to it, and then there's looking at, okay, what do they actually do? So he averaged a triple double. He lowered every stat to play in a system so they would win. Someone to do that, because it's a team sport, yeah, it's part of it. To lower your stats, to be part of a system, and then they just don't lose. That tells me he's more of a team player than someone who has to be the system.
that's Phil Jackson for me.
He got in, but so that first year that Phil got there, and because MJ didn't rate that game plan, he shot just as much as he ever did because he didn't believe in it. He just wanted the ball because he didn't rate the other players.
Yep.
So it was a bit of both. If MJ doesn't swallow his pride and say commit to him, does it work? Because
Yep.
he can easily say, like a lot of players would happen today, oh no, fuck that.
Yeah, of course.
I'm just going to do my own thing. So but you're right. It is Phil Jackson.
Yeah. LeBron never had a Phil Jackson. Not even close to a Phil Jackson. Let's be honest. He had what? David Blatt.
Eric Spoelstra was a good coach.
I mean, okay, sorry.
They made
that.
4 in a row. Like, so it's not like they had a good run.
Look at Eric now too. It's not like he's struggling without him as far as a coach is concerned. He's still taking teams to not winning championships, but he's still taking teams that don't expect to get there.
No one expects to either. So he did have a good coach. But then you break it down. Okay, in each facet. All right. So you got offensive game. Who's a better scorer? I know LeBron's scored the most, but MJ won 10 scoring titles. He's got the highest average in playoffs and regular season. He's won 10 scoring championships to 1. Mm-hmm. Who's a better defender? MJ's first team All NBA defense 9 times. That's a record. And he did them while he was wearing score. So imagine playing full forward, winning the Coleman and being All Australian fullback.
It's hard.
He's a better offensive player and he's a better defender. Now LeBron's obviously a better passer, but even then, and
Rebounder.
then you've got the accolades, MVPs.
MVPs to me is a bit of a. I think LeBron's been robbed a bit of that, and that's always subjective, of course.
I think MJ was robbed. Just
Probably
as many.
was, yeah.
Let's be honest, for their whole career, MJ and LeBron actually
they should have won it every year.
Every year, pretty much.
On the criteria of an MVP, 100%.
Yeah,
considering the fact that, and this is another sort of point of LeBron's is, so when LeBron left any of those teams that he played for, they pretty much turned into one of the worst teams in the league from pretty much the get-go. So Cleveland turned into a basket case to the point where they obviously drafted Kyrie Irving, which then obviously became a big part. Yeah, the lottery sort of helped them as well.
He leaves and the team becomes a
lottery team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then they got very lucky in the lottery too, getting the first round pick. It ended up being the Cleveland Magic, I think they called it, for the 2 years in a row that they managed to somehow snag the first pick, which ended up being a big part of not why he went back, but a big reason why he won the championship at Cleveland when he eventually went back. So there's, what point were we on again? I forgot.
Oh, you were just making the point that gets lost in that when LeBron leaves the side.
That's right, yes. So when he leaves the side...
That they crumble.
They absolutely crumble.
Yeah.
Some of them have been really bad.
Horrible.
And there was the year that Michael Jordan did obviously go to baseball.
Sure.
The Chicago Bulls made the playoffs.
They did.
That season as well.
They won 55 games.
Yeah.
So it's a really good point you both make.
Well, I'm going to finish on that point because this shows who's better or not, because you can obviously just take it that LeBron's a better player because when he leaves, they crumble. In anything in life, the best people leave organizations better than when they started. MJ left and became part of and induced a culture in them where they were good enough to not win it, but get to the playoffs the next year. They were all playing with Energizer bunnies now, and they were all happy that MJ left that first year. I think they all had a bit of fun. No one talks about where they were going the year after.
Yep.
What MJ did for them was win. So that strict coach and dictator that they had, they actually missed, and the wheels started to fall off.
Yep.
So to say, LeBron, when he leaves the side, obviously they crumble, but does that not mean if you're talking in business and organisation...
Hasn't laid the foundation.
Hasn't laid the foundation. And that's my point with him. It's not because as an individual player, he's as good as ever. I actually put LeBron James and Wilt Chamberlain sort of in their own category. Like from a statistical dominant athlete, they're almost over here. But the point is to win. MJ, like a CEO, where their job is to make the company better. MJ did that. And to the point of leaving organizations, before MJ got to the Bulls, they were nothing. Since he's left, they've been nothing forever. So it's sort of the same argument there. It's just
Call that Derrick Rose.
Well, yeah, they got there for a little bit.
I think that was a bit of unfortunate for Derrick.
Yeah, we
we
were robbed.
We were robbed?
We were robbed of...
Oh, we were robbed as far as a consumer.
Yeah, like he was awesome. Like imagine him 2-3 years on from that peak.
And just a bit off topic, why the hell was he on the court when he did that? I don't look back at the time and the score. Why the hell was he there?
Well, that's why no one plays now.
Exactly. Load management, guys.
All right, I do want to ask, I guess you guys have answered all the questions I guess I was going to ask, but in a very well.
I've got another point when you're ready.
You make
Go.
you
Yeah,
make
make the
it.
point.
Make as many points, and then once you guys are just completely silent,
Okay,
I'll
so what are
jump
we?
in.
Year 21, right? In year 21, I don't know what his raw numbers are. I think it's like 25, something like that, points. I don't know what the points and rebounds are, but they would be right up there.
Sure.
Yeah, get them up.
I think it's 20.
Jamie?
I think it's 25. Young Jamie.
You got shit Jamie over here.
Young Joshy.
Nah, I shouldn't say that.
What does he call him? Young Jamie? Young Joshy?
Young Joshy, yeah.
I think Jamie's 60.
I'm thinking Jamie from the Joe Rogan.
That's what I was saying.
Is he 60?
He's not as young as you'd think he was. I saw a photo of him. I thought he was like a kid. He's not.
He's not.
No.
What?
It's not like a 12.
You're lying to me. Don't fucking lie to me, mate.
Well, Joe
He's
Rogan-
clearly a fucking work experience kid for Joe, surely.
Well, I heard how he got his gig. He went to one of Joe's comedy shows. Yeah, and Joe's like, "How would you fix this or something? I need help with this." And he's like, "Let me have a look at it." And he just pretty much got the job.
Yep.
Like that's pretty good.
What year were we
Joe's the man.
talking about?
So we're talking this year,
What's
LeBron
he
stats.
averaging this year?
This year, 25,
25.
7.5 boards, 7 assists,
So
1.5
25,
steals.
7, 7.
It's unbelievable.
That's huge, right? So,
You know a stat that I did? No, actually, I won't go with that.
so year 21, you're averaging 25,
Yeah.
7, and 7. We used to have guys that would be in year 17, 18 who would average, you know, when I say they're in year 17, 18, they might be still like nearly 40. We're talking like maybe a Vince Carter or a Dirk Nowitzki, even a like Dwayne Wade to a lesser extent. These guys used to go out and score like 5 points a game.
Well, they did an average of all the players who have played year 20, and LeBron, and I think they all cumulative points was like 8.
Wasn't even the same.
It was
Yeah.
8.
Wasn't
Well, no,
even-
it was like 8 points between all 4 of them.
Yeah, exactly. And we used to like applaud that, going, how good is that? A guy's still playing and still contributing. And,
Why LeBron's still a top 5 player.
and LeBron's still, yeah.
So that's a longevity argument which he wins. And then we've got to make the criteria what makes the GOAT. Because Jordan's got it on achievements. Their stats from an average point of view is very even. Like if you can go, because I've gone through the analytics, there's points for MJ, there's points for LeBron. In terms of MJ's got more assists. Points. LeBron's got more assists. Rebounds, while MJ's got more steals. It's actually quite even over the overall. How are we judging the GOAT though? Because I would then use the argument if we're going longevity. Who was better at the end of that? Who was better at their peak?
LeBron.
I just don't know how, because MJ won every award and won the finals.
That's
6
a
out of
team
6.
award.
2 3-peats.
It's fantastic.
And he was the finals MVP in each one.
He was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he won the scoring champion while being
Can I ask a question?
He was being all defense with a scoring title. So he was doing it on both ends.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Who do you think Michael Jordan's greatest competitor was at his position?
At his position would Clyde Drexler.
Okay, so that's one.
Yeah.
You reckon he was number one?
He was pretty close.
Where would you reckon Clyde Drexler be in all time? He's probably in the
Love that question.
He's probably in the 75.
Yeah, he's in the 75.
Is he like 74th though?
Oh, so you can I know where you're going with that. No, and he is. We judge people in rankings because when they eventually win. There's so many that don't get rated in MJ's one because they didn't win. He didn't let them win.
I've got a point about that too.
LeBron's ones are ranked high because they won. If they didn't win, it wouldn't matter.
Yep.
If KD never won those ones, he doesn't get marked as highly as he is. Steph doesn't get marked as highly as he does.
KD also had to form the Avengers
Of course.
to beat LeBron
Of course.
and hasn't won since.
Of course.
So you guys recently did a list. When I say you guys, I mean you did a list and you listened of greatest players to not win a ring.
Yeah.
And you guys got pretty excited at the fact that Michael Jordan was a key contributor to that list, as far as when nearly half the list had LeBron players in his era as well.
So you had Russ,
Yeah, you had Paul.
Chris
Yep.
Paul, yeah.
You had
Chris Paul was losing a lot to the Warriors, sure.
Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
You had Joel Embiid in there. You had Luka in there.
Was Joel Embiid losing to LeBron, though?
But you had him in the list.
Yeah.
And he's part of the LeBron's time.
But MJ was beating those guys in the finals that we mentioned. They all made the finals.
So he beat Charles
He beat
in the
Charles.
finals.
Malone.
Yeah, he beat Malone. Yeah, he beat Stockton
Ewing.
and Ewing.
Reggie.
He beat Ewing in the final. That's right, he did.
No, he beat. They were in the same conference. He beat him in the conference finals a couple of times.
Yes.
Yes, he never played them in the championship, and he beat Reggie in a conference. So all of them directly versed him, and he beat them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fair point that you made. But who did he play? Apart Russell Westbrook, obviously.
Yep.
Apart from that, they weren't. I don't think they weren't stopped by him though.
So who's won championships while LeBron? So obviously Steph's won the 4, KD's won the 2.
Yeah.
And then you can say Draymond.
Giannis.
So Giannis has won 1. Joker's won 1.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's more recently.
Yeah, and we're not.
Yeah.
I'm not even penalising a lot of
San
that.
Antonio Spurs was another one.
So I'm not getting so we'll go through LeBron's one. No shade on the San Antonio Spurs. They were already a championship dynasty. They were already a fair income championship. So it's like when MJ was going up against couldn't beat Boston, couldn't beat any of them. They were already formed. And so to think that LeBron at 22 with that list with Cleveland was going to win, it was never.
The fact that he got there
was awesome.
Ridiculous in itself.
Was awesome, and even losing the biggest finals margin ever still doesn't sit well. But they did have injuries throughout that game, so that's fine. The Warriors formed though on his watch. And I'm not talking the KD Warriors because you're right.
When you say they formed,
LeBron was the best player. So when MJ beat it, when everyone got old and whatnot, because the Spurs got old in LeBron's era and whatnot. Am I off?
Yeah, very much so.
What?
I think you're getting through on.
Where did I miss?
What do you mean?
Did they hear all that?
A little bit, yeah. They heard it,
Okay.
but just not loud enough.
it's an edit, guys.
LeBron's the GOAT. Just insert Harley.
And that has it, guys. LeBron's the GOAT.
The Warriors formed so after MJ got past, and those older teams did, went away. He just didn't lose while LeBron, the Warriors formed. Why he let that on his watch. Now I'm not going to use the Giannis or the Joker against him because LeBron's 56. That's not
Averaging
his fault.
25-7-7.
Averaging 25-7-7.
At 56.
Awesome. It's awesome. But yeah, so that's where it comes back to those lists. These players lost in their prime to him.
Yep. Yeah, it sort of comes back to the whole still making championships when... So obviously MJ got to 6.
Yep.
LeBron gets to... I think... Did we work out it was 10? Yeah. So it's 10. And then... See, a lot of these are a team awards, right?
Sure.
And...
Oh, well, when LeBron beats the Warriors 3-1, come back from 3-1, they call him the greatest player ever.
He called himself the greatest player.
He called himself, so hang on, from the spirit of argument, we always know. It is a team argument.
Yep.
It is, but you can't then take credit for them just one.
That's fair. That's fair enough. So, part of the reason, and it's funny that I say that now, is the reason I think he is the GOAT is because despite losses, except for maybe the Dallas one,
Sure.
he is the most dominant player by a fair margin. They gave the guy finals MVP for stopping LeBron.
And he averaged 28, 8, and 8.
I think it was more. I reckon it was in the 30s.
No, against the Spurs. Are you talking Iguodala?
I'm talking Iguodala.
Iguodala was 32, 11, and 8 or something
like that. Yeah.
But he got the.
But that was the stopper tag that he
100%.
got somehow.
And those were in to go deeply in. By the way, Iguodala shouldn't have got Finals MVP.
Absolutely not.
And if you want to keep it in the spirit of not giving the Finals MVP to the losing team, well, then you'd give it to Steph. And that is to your point. They still lost though. They did still lose.
Yep.
They still lost. And his efficiency in those... So the games that they refer to in the Iguodala one is because he went from 50% shooting to 33. So there's multiple games where it's the same with Kawhi. He drops...
LeBron's efficiency.
It drops. Yeah, it drops in those games.
Yep. Does anybody ever raise their efficiency in a final, you reckon?
MJ.
He did
MJ's is it's the exact same.
It's just the same.
It's
Didn't get better.
It's the exact same.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
And I think LeBron's, for the most part, is the same too throughout his whole career. I mean,
That comes back to that system call that you made not that long ago, where it's and it came back with the Joel Embiid thing as well. If you're a system player, you stop a system player, you generally win.
Mm-hmm.
So is that not a compliment to LeBron that we try and stop him so hard because he's such a good player that it just ultimately creates a loss?
I agree with that. But MJ was the system player against the Pistons, but he had the foresight to then humble himself and become part of it.
Yep.
LeBron didn't do that, which is why LeBron. I went back to the LeBron and Wilt are their own category, and why I say that is Wilt's numbers are just stupid. Like he averaged 35 for 9 years, and then the year that he stopped scoring, he won
The greatest plumber basher of all time,
Absolutely,
guys.
he beat them all and he smashed them.
Yep.
But statistically dominant, they're the best.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and they're dominant from an individual standpoint. But it is a team game, and being able to make your team better. And I know we say LeBron makes his team better. He makes the role players better. He does not make the stars better. And the fact that after so many years, he's been beaten enough times to say, okay, maybe I do need to change the way I play. But he's so good that he does make the finals, so it is harder. But it's why players like Luka, James Harden, who are the system, can't win.
Yep.
And MJ couldn't either. But I think it's more of you can say it's a compliment to, as an individual, but it is a team. It is a team game.
Yep.
So if you can play within that, if you can learn to play in the system for the sake of winning, that's what matters. And Kobe did it too a little bit for when he finally got Gasol. He actually started bringing him into it because there was 2 years where Kobe's best years where he was scoring 35. I'm getting rolled. Because it was just him.
Yep.
Do you have a question, Joshy?
I do. It's more about their playing style and their skill. How do the playing styles and skill sets of LeBron and Jordan differ? And how have these differences shaped their respective legacies?
Ooh.
Because they are different
Never thought of that.
players.
And I think we can
not
all
on the accolades.
I think we can all be honest, and this is we were talking about who's the next face of the league, because LeBron's still the face of the league.
Of course, yeah.
It's not even
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
But it's not even about playing. It's not about playing. What MJ and LeBron have isn't just about how good they are. It's what they embody. And I don't think anyone. So when MJ retired, there was a weird period in the league before LeBron got there. Who was going to be the face of the league? There was Tim Duncan, Shaq, AI, but they weren't. They didn't have. Not only did MJ personify on the court, he was like a marketing tool off the court, which LeBron James is the exact same thing. I reckon that when LeBron retires in 10 years, we're gonna have a 10-year gap before that next person who is the face, because
We said that yesterday.
Well, yeah, and that's my point. Like Giannis and Jokic, naturally you'd think to, but they don't have that pizzazz, that presence.
They're going to want an American to be the face.
Correct.
It's going to happen. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. But to answer your question, I'll start that question off. How their playing styles has shaped their respective legacies. So this isn't really a debate one. This is sort of how I see it. So I'll ask the question for both of them. Michael Jordan, when he came into the game, was called Captain Marvel, and then he also, through his play, he had the Air Jordan brand, which is the biggest shoe brand of all time.
Yep. Made a movie about it recently.
Made a movie about it. Yeah, watch it. Michael Jordan is the most marketable athlete of all time, which is why LeBron had so much actual pressure, because because it was looking for the one. They were looking for the next MJ.
Jordan.
And by the way, what's lost in this, what's really bad about this debate, is MJ and LeBron. It's kind of probably bittered them both, when actually, like, LeBron loved MJ.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
he wears
absolutely
23
for the sake of it.
Because
he did the powder toss. He loved him. What's been ruined with your Skip Baylesses and this debate all the time, and you can tell it pisses LeBron off, hence why he throws, the greatest of all time and stuff, is because it's been twisted. But MJ's playing style, he was a killer, and he was a win-at-all-cost persona type of player. So that embodied, he always wanted the ball in the he wanted to, go down fighting. He always wanted the last shot. How that embodied his legacy is that everyone would know him is he's an ultimate winner. He's an ultimate competitor.
He's clutch.
While LeBron's playing style is very different in terms of he's a pass first, always making the right play sort of thing. Now, LeBron's legacy is a lot different so he's obviously the biggest name in basketball at the moment. It's still, and if we're talking legacies in terms of what MJ's, no, I don't think regardless if LeBron's the GOAT, I think everyone's decided that MJ's the GOAT for the majority. I think we can all say that.
Sure, yeah.
That LeBron will never pass him, no, even if he won 10 championships. And that's how big MJ's legacy is, that LeBron's trying to chase a ghost. LeBron's legacy is different because you got half the people who do love him, and it's been amazing to watch. But half of his legacy is out hatred to him, which is not fair, because everything, and this is coming to your point, since he started, they've just compared him to Michael Jordan. And he's been hated for I know people who say he's not better than Kobe, like he's not better than Shaq, just to discredit him in the LeBron debate, the MJ debate. The biggest one is they say Steph's better than him. That's the biggest one that gets mentioned. So LeBron's legacy is going to be ridiculous. A half. LeBron's legacy is a half and half. LeBron also has a good legacy off, like he does a lot of charity works. MJ does too, but like he's very big in like the state of Ohio. But MJ's legacy is he's the GOAT. That is his legacy. LeBron's pass it sort of the way that he plays. I don't even think that affects it more the legacy. What gets him is the division that he causes. And we are in the social media age where division, they fight everything, which is a shame, because I think a lot of people are going to miss out on what LeBron has done. Because at worst, he's the second best player of all time, and what a terrible thing that is.
Imagine when he's gone, people are going to be like, probably could have respected it a bit more.
I agree with that.
For sure. It's funny, I just want to get to the point of, and I know what you're going to say back to it, it's about longevity, but it's funny how you say LeBron's a pass-first player, and he's got the most points of any player ever to play the game. It makes me laugh, because it's true. It's 100% true. He is a pass-first player.
True. And that gets used against him when the game's on the line, sort of thing. Does he always make the right pass? So that was to the legacy question.
I don't think he's ever made the wrong pass, personally.
I mean, I saw him do it with AD.
I think he might not execute it right.
Yeah.
But I don't think the decision necessarily is always wrong.
No, of course. Of course. But that's how I see their legacies. I'm not sure how you see their legacies. That's not really a debate. That's just how I see it.
Yeah. I mean, you've pretty much hit the nail on the head, really. I don't think there's much more to say to that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good work, Chat TB.
Now, in terms of, I guess...
Did you get me a water?
Oh, rude.
Oh, I can't believe I wouldn't do that.
Come on, mate.
You're drinking water? I thought this was vodka.
I'll give you sparkling.
Don't you fucking... I'd rather have vodka.
Andrew Tate.
We love him. Actually, they might take this down.
Oh, no. Edit. Yeah, they actually might.
Our edit is LeBron's the GOAT.
In terms of, I guess the one thing we probably haven't talked about is the actual stats on championships.
Mm-hmm.
I know you briefly touched on, stats with points. Obviously, LeBron's got the most all time. How many championships did LeBron win, and how many did Jordan win?
So LeBron's won 4, and MJ's won 6.
They're two different, as far as
two.
But we've already touched on the fact that those other 4. Obviously, he had 4, and then he had the 4 losses. And how many has he been to though?
6 losses.
6 losses.
So he's had 10.
Yeah.
He's been to 10.
He's been to 10.
So he's at 40%.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Which hurts again, because all the great players, the majority of them, minus Wilt,
there's actually
they all have a winning record in finals, and also LeBron has also lost in the Olympics too. So when you look up, just coming into championships at the game, LeBron has losses. I just don't know how you can differentiate that.
Who was playing with LeBron in the Olympics though?
So you had Tim Duncan.
So Kobe wasn't there, because that's the whole point of he came back.
That was the whole point of the
the
Redeem team. And that's a great. Have you seen that one?
I haven't seen it all.
It is such a good one. I will give. So everyone gives Kobe the chocolates that it was because of him and that he was the leader. Now, he came in, he was a gunner, he had that mentality.
I mean, he's the closest thing we've got to MJ.
Correct. And he came in, and so they'd been out partying in Vegas, I think, and they were coming home at 5 o'clock in the morning, and Kobe's going down. They're like, what are you... And he was already sweating. He was already training.
Yep.
He's like, I got to go practice.
Yeah.
And then, so what he did for all of them was got him to take it seriously. And he was like, what was lost in that doco was LeBron's leadership. Was Kobe was sort of here and everyone was here. LeBron's leadership got Kobe immersed into the group, which made Kobe have fun and then trust the group. And then they did great things.
Yep.
Little side note, it was actually cool that a different type of leadership.
Yep.
LeBron did well.
Now, in terms of how you guys have shaped your opinion, was there a defining moment that kind of solidified? This is not a question that ChatGPT is asking. It just
That's a great.
I haven't really brought it up yet because I've thought about it a couple of times. I didn't know how to bring it up, but and you guys have touched on it in a previous episode, the quality of opponent, and we have sort of talked about it.
Yeah.
I think LeBron's quality of opponent in the games that he's won and lost,
Sure.
I think far outweighs. And it comes back to doing it when it matters and stuff like that. But I think there is a point to make with that. Whereas I mentioned it earlier, they formed the Avengers to try and
That's fair.
try and stop him. And I think it's worth mentioning.
I will sit here and say Jordan never versed the quality of the team
Golden State Warriors.
in terms of that Golden State Warriors.
San Antonio Spurs.
My argument to the Spurs, though, that he then did lose to them when he was crewed up, and he lost to Dallas Mavericks, who were way below them in talent.
Yep.
So that sort of ruins that for me.
Underrated team though.
But MJ beat four of the teams he beat won 60 games. Like, they were good that year. And the reason they don't get mentioned, again, this is coming to the winning thing, he stopped all these teams from winning. So they don't get mentioned as highly. They get forgotten because he crushed them. There was no comeback to that. While LeBron's teams did keep winning. They did form the Avengers. He also played the Miami Heat in the bubble championship. If we're going to that point, he beat Miami in a bubble championship, who were missing two of their three best players in that, and they were already fifth. And the one against Oklahoma, it was a shortened year. So, yeah, he probably does have the hardest championship, but he also won two in shortened years.
Fresher in a shorter season though, aren't you?
Huh?
You'd be fresher. You wouldn't have to load manage as much because you could still play basketball. So,
just a
does a
bit
shorter
easier.
manage? Do you reckon it's easier though? Because everyone's playing on the same playing field, so I don't really see the difference.
Not the bubble. Not when you're
not the bubble. I'm talking the shortened season, the strike
Well,
season.
it's just easier. You're not playing as longer.
No one's playing as longer though.
No, I'm just saying. It's just.
I don't know how you can really.
Well, swap.
There's always one.
We were just getting deep then too.
We're just getting deep. Well, that's just a water. I think you can, because out of 4 championships, he's won 2 in shortened years. So even out of the 4 that he's won, 2 of them weren't even proper years.
We're all on a level playing field though, aren't we?
I'm just saying. It's interesting. He didn't go through the whole thing. His first one was even shortened.
It's funny. Have you ever seen? LeBron has this quote where he talks about how hard the bubble was and whatnot, and how hard it was to win that championship, and then cuts to Steven Adams, and Steven Adams is like, "Yeah, guys, it was like a holiday."
Well, they got to play in LA.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry. Like, you live like LeBron, you're a billionaire. Like, I'm sure you.
Yeah, I think he's oversold that as far as it's.
Yeah.
It is hard.
That's his job, though.
But
it is.
But you are right with the Warriors. But then in that flip side, how many All-Stars did LeBron play with? Like, I will give, and MJ never had a guy who MJ played with an All-Star who made the All-Star team 6 times, and that was Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
While MJ played with multiple who were continuously making it. MJ never played with a guy who averaged 20 in his. LeBron's had Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Anthony Davis. That whole year led him in every stat.
So he's moved teams, yeah?
Yeah.
So he's playing with different personnel.
Yeah.
So that's how you end up playing with more All-Stars, yeah? So
No, for that year, though.
for which year?
For like the years that they made the All-Stars year that year.
I think I've missed a part of this argument.
MJ, Scottie Pippen made the All-Star team 6 times while MJ was playing with him.
Yep.
Dennis Rodman was also an All-Star, but he never made the All-Star team while he was with MJ.
Yeah, he was one of the greatest role players ever.
Correct. Yes, he was. LeBron's all his players make the All-Star team. Like he's just played with more, so I think he's had a lot more help on the offensive end as well.
So he's had Dwayne Wade,
Chris Bosh,
Kyrie Irving. These guys were going to make it regardless of LeBron, right? So who are the other All-Stars that he's played with? So he's played with Anthony Davis. Right. So this is a reflection on teams that he's played for, yeah? So he goes to Miami, obviously formed that team. So there's always going to be 2 All-Stars there. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Moves back to Cleveland.
Did Ray Allen make the All-Star team that year too?
Might have.
Possibly.
Yeah, he probably did as a reflection of the team he was on, though. It's probably not.
So he was playing with a team with 4 All-Stars.
So he probably created an All-Star in Ray Allen. Ray Allen probably doesn't make it.
Hang on, Ray Allen was part of the Big Three and was actually his own player. Everyone forgets that. Ray Allen for a bit used to dunk really well.
Have you ever heard of the Ray Allen Klay Thompson argument? That's a genuine argument.
No.
So people reckon that if Klay ever went on his own and actually sort of ran a team, so like what Ray did when he was at
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, yep. I think he was at the Sonics as well, was he? I could be wrong with that one.
Was it the Sonics? Maybe I was wrong. It was probably Sonics.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
And so people say like, Ray ran his own team, but apparently they're pretty similar in ways. I've never really thought about it until I heard it. So that was just interesting. I thought I'd bring that up while we talked about Ray. Hit us up in the comments who you think was better, guys.
That is an interesting one because we are off topic here. Klay, when he got hot for a couple of years, they were called the Splash Brothers for a reason.
Correct.
However, I think it's why Klay has this massive ego. He sort of because did he's knocked back his 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, he's gone.
You're not Steph Curry. You never were Steph Curry. It was a nice thing the media to say because you were an unbelievable shooter.
Could be a Jordan Poole 2.0 coming here with Klay.
What, going to
another team, expecting to be...
That's
a big call. That's a hot take.
Imagine if he went to the Wizards.
That'd be a basket case. That's one of the worst teams ever assembled.
Oh, I'm so happy. I called it with Jordan Poole. Even when he was good in there off the bench, I called it. I'm like, he will not make it.
Anyway, All-Stars. So where did we get to? We got to Ray. We can't remember Ray. Oh, no, we said Ray was a reflection of how good the Miami Heat teams were.
But he made the All-Star team 12 times.
Do you reckon he was going to make another one without LeBron, though?
Oh, who knows?
I doubt it.
You don't know. But he'd made it 12 times. He's made it however many times. It wasn't like that was the first time he'd ever made it.
Okay.
So he was making the All-Star team wherever he was. He was an All-Star in his first side. He was All-Star at the Big Three, and he was All-Star at...
He was aging, though.
He was.
So it's only it's speculation whether he would have made it.
He also, it's one of those if things, isn't it? He also hit the biggest shot to help save.
Hey, was it Steve Kerr hit a big shot for MJ though?
They were in front though.
He still hit it.
Yeah, but they were 3-1 up. Sorry, there was 3-2.
We've also seen a team lose from 3-1. That
true.
was one of the best teams. It was the best winning team.
That doesn't happen very often unless you're LeBron James.
Exactly.
I've told you this, and I've said it here. LeBron coming back against the Golden State Warriors is arguably the greatest achievement in finals history in terms of a single one. My flip side to that is MJ never went to a game 7.
Yep.
Never went to a game 7. He just won.
That's fair enough.
Didn't we get any more chat TP?
I guess it comes back to... we didn't answer
I've
the
got a
question.
final statement, but
No,
I want to save it to the end.
What I want to know is was there a defining moment that kind of led you guys to either LeBron or Jordan?
So what I led to him being the greatest player.
Yeah.
He was saying it
when he was drafted to...
Yeah. Hang on. When I met him and you have...
I have gone early.
Let him give it...
No. I'm giving context to this story where I'm giving shit to Harley. When I met him and Josh did say LeBron was the best player, was better than MJ, and they hadn't won. Now, I've spoken to you since then and you said, yeah, I wasn't right.
Yeah, it was tongue in cheek.
It was tongue in cheek, yeah.
For sure. wanted it so bad that I was trying to manifest it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have to. It just happened on its own.
Well, he did get a lot better.
He did get a lot better.
He did get a lot better.
I think that was when he was getting bounced by, the
He just moved to Miami.
Celtics. Yeah.
He just moved to Miami and then you went to OKC.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Never looked back.
Except for last year if they met.
Oh, that's funny. What was your defining moment? Was there one moment, or was it just over the course?
I haven't watched it as much as Harley. Like, as in from the get-go. I've had to go... So I fell in love sort of, watching The Last Dance. Sort of from... Because it's not just a sports story. The Last Dance on Netflix? Yeah.
Yep.
It's not just a sports story. It's a sport. It's a story for life. And that's what really was like, oh, this guy's awesome. So you start doing your research on him there. Then you start thinking... oh, why do they say LeBron's? But then you start to go actually research. Then you find yourself looking up 1960s basketball. I just went on this rabbit hole. I'm like, the history of this sport is absolutely unbelievable. And there's so many good players in different eras, the way the styles played. Like in the 60s, it was a super quick pace. 1950s, they used to beat each other up. Well,
I've got an opinion about that.
Oh, plumbers.
Nah. It's more. It's sort of part of the 90s as well. And I hope he watches this so he can comment and say we did talk about it. So I mentioned to a buddy of mine that I was coming on here, and he goes, "Oh, who you arguing for?" And I said LeBron. Part of his argument was that the Michael Jordan era was so tough. As far as physicality is concerned. And my opinion on that is very different to any other opinion I've ever heard about that. And that physicality in basketball is actually the opposite to me of it being good or being anything relevant to basketball. As a matter of fact, I think it's because they couldn't play basketball as well that they were more physical. I always think back to, and I mentioned it earlier, that I had the most fouls in a season. It's because I am terrible at playing basketball, guys. I'm so bad that I used to just crash and bash into people, and then I used to create fouls. So when you say tough, you've got guys that were like your centers and your power forwards that were big physical,
They'd
sort of specimen.
they'd smack you in the paint.
They absolutely would.
And that plays on you psychologically.
But I think it's a little bit overstated how tough that era actually was. And there is a lot of evidence on just like forums, YouTubes and stuff like that. There's so many plays where guys are terrible defenders. Like terrible defenders in the guards and the small forward position, where guys used to they would literally just be dribbling in front of them and then just walk around them. I think it's a little bit sort of glorified, the physicality of the 90s.
So I wasn't even going on to that. I was actually asking the question how I got to the point of MJ. I determined that he was the GOAT. But I'll rebuttal that. You're not completely wrong. I think in every era there are players that aren't defensively good. I watch the game now and the defense is just almost non-existent.
Damian Lillard.
Oh my goodness.
We call it trigger, guys. Trigger. It's just a word.
I miss Drew Holiday. Though Dame then makes you feel better when he shoots up almost half court and just makes you stop.
Oh yeah, thanks for that reminder.
No, he did it like last game.
Yeah, he did it over fucking Paul George as well.
I can make that argument for every era, and especially now because they just don't even play it because of the rule, and that's somewhat to the rules as well. To the point of the 50s, that every sport was a bit tougher. Like if you go football, rugby, NFL, it was all tougher in terms of the physicality to it, and it's more the dog sort of things. The 80s was highly skillful. It still worked though because the Pistons, the bad boy Pistons, beat two highly skilled teams in terms of if we want to talk about someone who's beaten the best sides, we say LeBron beating the 73 Warriors. Isaiah beat Bird, Magic, and MJ. I still think that's if we're talking about who's beaten the hardest competition he has. That's called game plan. They couldn't match them one-on-one skill-wise. So that's just an evolution and it naturally changes. then from there, MJ's Bulls played the way it should be. You had the Knicks, who was sort of like the bad boys too. It was just physical, and the rules allowed it. But things evolved. They stopped wanting it. The moment that went away from it, players obviously got more skilled because they've got time to fucking shoot, and they don't have to worry about getting hit. So to say it was overstated, maybe. I don't think it's. Stephen A uses it. Oh, the MJ's the greatest because of the era he played on. I don't think it's too hard to compare eras because they all have a different skill set and a different, like, the guys now shoot the lights out much better. But these guys would fucking cry if they played in the 80s or 70s or 90s because they'd be sooks. They're not allowed to touch anyone, and they all flop, and that would just be broken out of it. So I don't like to use, to your point, I actually don't like that argument from when people say, oh, he won because he played in the 90s. No, that's not. What did you do in your era? What did you do with the rules that were set in stone?
Yeah, you're talking about some of the best teams in that era as well. So I'm talking league wide.
Yeah,
There's definitely been some over, like the bad boy Pistons. They're
awesome,
unreal. But they've also like Isaiah. What's his name? Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, I forgot his name for a second. Then yeah, like he's probably an exception to, he was tough, but he was also very skillful.
Cool.
So but then you've got like a plethora of not very tough players.
And you made a point about some of the players weren't actually really good at defense. Some of the guys don't play. Most of them don't even play it anymore, and that's a real thing. That's why I don't like the era sort of. It's too hard to tell. It's too hard to tell. Like when you're playing in the 50s and 60s, you're not thinking fucking some Joe blog. Fucking we're going to talk about you guys are shit.
Thinking about your next job on the job site.
Exactly. But how I came to the conclusion of MJ's a GOAT, I sort of look at it.
That's right. That's what we were talking about.
That was a good.
That
was a
good
fair call
segue.
that you made though. All the players, and rings aren't everything, obviously, because you sort of look at all the greats have won multiple MVP. Most of them.
If rings were everything, Jordan would be the best.
Absolutely
Do
not.
you know what I mean by that?
Bill Russell.
Sorry, Bill Russell.
And Bill Russell has a legitimate.
Robert Horry.
And so this is where I say it's not a rings thing because a role player winning 7 is not the same as is your number one player.
One of the luckiest players ever.
They've all won. He played his role though in each one. They've all got multiple MVPs, first team All NBAs. What do they do with the championships, and were they the best player in their championships? Now, I actually think Bill Russell is the only one you can actually, because the reason why, because Bill Russell is the only one you can actually, if you want to say he's the GOAT, you can. Hear me out on that. Taking the era argument is all these players, MJ included, Isaiah Thomas, LeBron, all of them, what do they all say? It's about winning. Well, there's only one guy who can really say it, and that was him. So if you want to put him as a GOAT, you can. For me, the 6 finals MVPs, for me, doing my research, he's just got all the accolades. That's where I came to the conclusion MJ's the best.
Is it? Yeah, he's clutch when it matters. He comes through.
Yeah, he's six from 6.
Okay.
Pushed off on that shot too, guys.
Thug era.
That's a trigger word again.
Draymond would have been executed if he touched a guy like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that. I mean,
did a video on Draymond too.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. Like he actually is a really good player, but he's obviously his indiscretions over especially this season in particular.
I think he gives a fuck. It looks like he doesn't care.
Yeah, it really does. Like, I mean, he's achieved. He's overachieved in his career. Let's be honest.
He's like a Dennis Rodman. Like, is in that sort of. I'm not saying
he's in that
better
vibe.
Or worse. He's
cut
vibe.
From the same cloth.
He's not the best player. He realised what his role is. I don't think he's a better rebounder or pure defender as Rodman is, but he's definitely a better facilitator than Rodman ever thought of beating.
The way he sets screens and the way he has these ball handoffs, it's a big reason why Golden State Warriors where they're at.
Well, they talked about, because they always say the Splash Brothers, but I arguably say Green's is half the reason Steph was so good was because he just knew how to find Steph.
Yep.
We were talking about this yesterday too, like what he's done in terms of just repeat offense. he was never athletic, but it looks like his body is completely giving up on him, and he's not getting into people's heads as much. They're actually Kirk got into his head.
Yeah.
And he's averaging like 4 points. So like, it's like it's passed him by.
For sure. I was convinced he was going to LA, like Lakers. For sure.
Because him and LeBron, they're in business together.
I don't know if they're in
They've
business
got
together.
something together. Yeah, the same managing company. Or...
Possibly, yeah. I'm not too sure about that. But he had that podcast recently where he said he thought LeBron was a GOAT in this sort of similar format. And then he just loves LeBron. And then I always thought like LeBron would
look good in Lakers colours.
I always thought LeBron would hear that and go, because he's le GM, that he would actually make it happen. But he obviously
even he sees.
Even he went, probably not.
I think you're a bit past it.
I'll take Austin Reeves.
He's been good.
He's been very good.
Yeah, played a big role in a championship game. Do you owe him an apology?
Me?
No, I'm just saying that's a video I made. Don't forget to subscribe.
No, that was LeBron's 5th championship.
It was, absolutely.
That's another championship. That wasn't a full season.
Okay, so you do joke about that, right? But if LeBron loses that game, it does genuinely become a bit of a he lost when it mattered sort of thing.
The in season.
Absolutely.
I
don't think you would personally, but it's definitely a narrative that people would have went on. I reckon people would have had their tweets ready to go, like before that game even got played.
This comes
another loss in the finals.
This comes back to the legacy we were talking about. That LeBron's damned if he does, damned if he don't. However,
most criticised.
I also think it goes the other way too. Is the way they carried on for winning round 20. Fuck off. It actually goes the other way. People are saying he's awesome because he won an in-season tournament. Who cares?
I loved it just quietly. I haven't really mentioned it in a video before, but I thought it was a great sort of initiative. And I sort of get the idea that, the regular season is sort of in a bit of jeopardy if they need it.
Of course.
But I think it was great as far as, it's the first season that's happened. So you'd think it would get better as they workshop it. This is basically a workshop season for it. And I thought it went pretty well, to be honest. It sort of gave a guy like Tyrese Halliburton a bit of a platform that he might not have had. Like he let's be honest, I've noticed him and I'm a big fan of his now.
But if you don't follow it, who watches the Pacers?
Exactly. So I watch it pretty as far as scores, I'm in fantasy league, so I see a lot of that stuff, but not a lot of people would have. So it gave him a bit of a platform to showcase what he could potentially do. Whereas in seasons gone, he's more than likely resting.
Yep.
So I thought it was great in that regard.
I think it's good. I don't think the only thing that I thought was, like we said, LeBron winning the championship doesn't add to it or doesn't take anything away from the player that he is. I think that comes down to playoffs and championships and finals.
Yeah, he's done enough already for me.
We've done.
But you're right. It does definitely bring. I really like that point that you make.
To the in-season tournament, we did a video on this. It did exactly what the NBA wanted. The regular season is in trouble, and that comes from it's a long season. Players don't play a third of the year anymore. It gave them a reason to play incentive-wise. So from what the point of the job was, it worked.
Yeah.
Yep.
My problem is now that it cheapens everything else, and the fact that they had to do it means
maybe the Pacers and the Lakers after that aren't winning.
But take that aside. Maybe shorten the league or something.
Yeah.
Or I think that the fact that they have to do it means the actual product itself is in trouble.
You could never shorten the games. You could never.
I know,
no,
and that's
short.
what we talk. No,
yeah,
short as in get rid of. So you got 82.
Yeah, you could never do
they'll
less.
never do that.
You
Why
can
not?
never, because it ruins the integrity of your stats.
Integrity of your stats.
Oh yeah, across the whole board.
Yeah, so LeBron's the greatest scorer because he's played pretty much 82 or not 82, but he's played a lot of seasons and he's played a lot of those games. Whereas if you cut a season short, then I don't know if you've seen the stat
and money.
The stat where if a rookie came into the league now at a certain age, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but he would have to average a really high amount of numbers for a lot of years to even catch LeBron as far as points is concerned.
Maybe they need to bring the All-Star weekend closer.
You could do that.
That would make it a bit more.
I don't know.
Around
But
Chrissy.
but it's not the All-Star weekends are fast. That needs to be fixed because no one wants to play.
But around Christmas,
They
because
don't
how
play
everyone's
properly.
on holidays, all the kids love. I would watch
But
it.
it's about the players being. And this is a spoiled brat era. is that they have to get paid an extra
I don't think
$500K
it's the
when
money
they
should
already
be-
get paid millions. And
I don't know why that
and I know the role players don't get paid as much, but they're not broke. They still all get paid fucking well. It's just, I think there's something fundamentally wrong with how it's going, that this in-season tournament has to be the thing that sparks it. I think it's a bit gimmicky, and who gives a shit?
It's a gimmick for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't think too that the amount of money that they won nearly really needed to be like emphasized either. They could have just said to the players, "This is what's going to happen." The fact that they made that public does make it a little bit of a farce. Like it's just like, wow. Yeah, and you got your role players are making money, but like you could have not told me that, and I would have taken it just as seriously as, you know. So
well, it's now it's like, oh, you won 7 games in a row and you got paid $500,000. Fuck.
LeBron actually made mention of it in a presser too, like sort of
Oh,
tongue
wow.
in cheek, but he was saying like they were talking about taking charges at his age, and he's like, for $500K I would. So it was a little bit tongue in cheek, but like, you know, when you got guys like that bringing it up as well, then it definitely gets emphasized that that's what's happening with the money as well. So
Yeah. Well, do you guys have any more further points?
I think Harley was going to make a closing statement.
all right, so my closing statement, it's very, very short, but it always, you know, makes me smile, which is we always talk about who's going to be the next Michael Jordan, but no one ever talks about who's going to be the next LeBron James.
Mic drop. That's fair. That comes down to legacy. Because and that will come down to a legacy thing too, because Michael Jordan doesn't matter what we debated here today. Michael Jordan will go down as the GOAT. He was the best offensive player. He was also why he was making first team all defense. He's never lost a championship in any form of the game. He is the GOAT in every aspect to everyone, not just on the court, but off the court. What he embodies about winning and determination, plus with his play aesthetically, you want to play like him. He's just the best. And I think in this one, LeBron, what a career he's had, but he's just got too many. He's fallen over too many times, and it's not much. I only talked about 5. I'm talking on how many fails on the hand. What a terrible career he's had. MJ doesn't have any of them.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up, guys. Please comment your thoughts on who you think the greatest between LeBron and Jordan is. It's been an absolute honor just basically listening into you guys talk shop about who. I mean, it was great.
Different. I've never debated it either with anyone ever. So except for you, actually, just in smaller dosages. We've never actually sat down for this long.
Like a long.
Yeah, like we're talking like over messages, like from time to time, and it'd normally be me triggering you, saying, "Look at LeBron did here," and you go, "Fuck off."
It was good. It was really good to see different insights too.
And it's different to have the convo, because I'm sure people debate things all the time, but how often do you do it for? How long did we go for?
An hour and 27.
Okay,
Jesus
when have you debated a topic for an hour and a half?
Never.
You normally have that conversation goes for 5-10 minutes.
I normally get scared.
And then you get something off. Then you go to the next thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was also pretty nerve-wracking. You had 2 big bloody lights right in your face.
I didn't even notice them.
I don't reckon I noticed them either, to be honest.
Nah, you
I
just
noticed them. I was looking straight at
Well,
them.
When the bright light's the brightest, that's when I shine.
I'm focusing on Harley. He's focusing on me, while you're focusing on everyone but everything but us.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna leave it on this. Clippers did get up,
Hey,
144 to 122.
I got to look at some fights too. Who won those?
Yeah, look up the UFC.
We should have done a fight companion.
Did you?
That would have been cool.
Did you watch the Jake Paul fight?
I actually didn't. I'm such a Jake Paul fan too.
We've become good fans of him.
I've obviously watched it back because you don't have to watch it for long to watch it back.
No.
The uppercut just sent him to the shadow realm, which was great.
But he beat a boxer, and what I hate, everyone, we were talking about it yesterday. He has to verse a contender, and it's like, hang on, he's like second actual against the Brock. This is what happens. And then people were saying, oh, well, how come no one knew? The fights that he had were novelties against people that were known, and that was the gimmick of it. Yep. No one's gonna no one watches people in their when they first start boxing. No one gives a shit.
No, absolutely.
No.
So and what's he supposed to do? Like what? So he's got to fight a.
Well, he's going to go up against
He's gonna
Canelo
win.
straight away.
He's gonna win. Let's say he becomes a champion there, which I would think awesome. I love Jake
How
Paul.
good would that be?
They'll be like, oh, he wouldn't win if he was in heavyweight. Well, fuck. All right.
No
we're
shit,
done.
he wouldn't win. He's not a heavyweight.
It's a reflection on.
No, but that's sort of the standard. They would say, oh, well, he couldn't beat a UFC fighter. He beats a UFC fighter. Or he couldn't beat a striker who was a UFC fighter. He beats.
Knocked him.
He beats, and then he beats Anderson Silva, who is like the striker.
The amount of
He's beaten every hurdle, and he's
Except for Tommy.
Except for Tommy, and I don't think he was a disgrace in that.
I think that
a good
was
fight.
debatable too. The actual result.
Correct.
I mean,
It's like Francis and Fury.
and then you got KSI and Tommy as well. That was debatable as well. The result.
We won't
Bit
talk
of a
about
farce.
Logan and Dylan Paul.
Dylan Paul.
Oh, sorry, Logan
I'm sure
and
Dylan would love to hear that.
Oh, that's great.
All right, I think that's.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We are looking at that camera if we are looking, guys.
Cool.
Give Harley's Sports Talk a follow. He's on YouTube. Is there any other places that you can be
YouTube,
found?
TikTok. I'm still in the process, so I changed the name, and I've got to wait until the 28th of December to change it back, so you can do it at it. But if you search Harley Sports Talk, it'll still come up. So
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Harley.
no worries. Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. First guest, mate. It's
I
and
feel privileged.
We'll
No,
get
thank
you
you
on
very
more
much.
often, and we're gonna have good debates like this. That was great. We'll get the UFC and
Yeah,
the
Fight
boxing
Companion would be good, I reckon.
100%.
Sunday Arvo.
Yep.
Absolutely.
TVs, that'd be great.
Love it.
That sounds good.
Real.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, do your thing, ring the bell. I think I did put a bell on this thing, but I don't know where it is. I think it's... there we go. Ring the bell.
Hey.
See you,
There we
everyone.
go. See you guys.
Yeah. Now, is this an outtake I get to be a part of now?